Emotionally detached people attract attention for a reason most people never understand. And no, it's not because they're better looking, it's not because they're richer, and it's not even because they're more confident. The real reason is much deeper than that. Think about the world we live in. Every app wants your attention. Every advertisement wants your reaction. Every platform wants your engagement. Every headline wants your emotion. Everything is competing for one thing: your response, your outrage, your excitement, your approval, your validation. Modern society runs on emotional reactions. The people who can trigger emotions get attention. The people who can influence emotions gain power. And because of that, many people become emotionally dependent without even realizing it. Dependent on replies, dependent on likes, dependent on recognition, dependent on acceptance, dependent on being chosen, dependent on being understood. Most human interactions are actually negotiations for validation. People want reassurance, people want approval, people want recognition, people want proof that they matter, and there is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when your emotional state depends on receiving it. Now imagine somebody different, someone who enjoys connection, but doesn't depend on it, someone who appreciates attention, but doesn't chase it, someone who cares, but doesn't lose themselves when somebody leaves, someone who can be rejected, without questioning their worth, someone who can stand alone, without feeling abandoned. Most people don't know how to process that, because it breaks a pattern they see every day. They're used to people seeking approval, they're used to people explaining themselves, they're used to people chasing validation, they're used to people reacting emotionally, then suddenly, they meet someone who isn't playing that game, someone whose mood isn't controlled by praise, someone whose identity isn't controlled by acceptance, someone who doesn't seem desperate for permission to be themselves. And something interesting happens. Curiosity begins, questions begin, attention begins. Not because emotional distance is attractive, because emotional freedom is. Deep down, almost everyone wants freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from needing approval, freedom from worrying about what people think, freedom from constantly measuring their worth through other people's reactions. Most people may never admit it, but they're exhausted. Exhausted from performing, exhausted from comparing themselves, exhausted from seeking validation, exhausted from carrying an identity built for other people. So when they encounter someone who appears emotionally free, they notice. Sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, but they notice. That's why emotionally detached people often attract attention, not because they care less, not because they're cold, not because they're mysterious, but because they appear less controlled, less dependent, less needy, less influenced, and in a world where so many people are controlled by external validation, that stands out. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Real emotional detachment is not emotional coldness, it is not ignoring people, it is not pretending not to care, it is not becoming emotionally unavailable. Real emotional detachment means you can care deeply without becoming dependent. You can love without losing yourself. You can connect without needing control. You can be present without making somebody else responsible for your happiness. And in a world addicted to validation, that kind of emotional stability becomes impossible to ignore. People aren't attracted to emotional distance. They're attracted to people who remain themselves, with or without validation.